Okay, you heard the music, so it's that time again. And what is that time, Tom?
Tom Squared.
Tom Squared, coming to you again now for the fourth time. And so far we're doing pretty good, but today we've got something a little bit special today, and that is...
What else is happening then?
No, that you guys heard his voice. There he is. Yeah. Who is this guy? Would you please introduce yourself, sir?
I am Sean Lafferty from WJET TV here in Erie, Pennsylvania, and proud colleague of Tom Atkins. Yours as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We worked together, you and I, for sure. I mean, a long time ago. We started
many years ago.
I think I interned in 90 or 91, and that's when I first met you.
Back when my hair was red.
Oh, back when I had hair. Jeez.
Amen. I hear you. Same thing.
Yeah. So I guess how is everybody's New Year? Starting over there with you, Sean. What do you think?
So far, so good. 7 days in, and no catastrophes as far as I know.
Did you have did you have a good time as far as doing stuff at home with family?
Oh yeah, the holidays were great. For years and years now, I've made it a point to take that last week of the year off, and just kind of reset, push the reset button. Get the new year off to a good start, and get a chance to hang out with family because it started when the kids were young. The business is such, or my job at least is such that working nights you miss a lot of things at home. So when you get the opportunity, and it started, like I said, 25 years ago, when you get the opportunity to spend some family time or to carve it out, you take it.
That's good. Tom, what about you? How did your holiday go?
No complaints. Nobody got hurt. I set the bar low. I don't think there was any major storms that I had to be called in for. So just finishing up at Behrend, of course. With you, I start to take time off a little earlier in December to get through finals week and get all the grades in.
Okay.
And then, like Sean was talking about with WJET, I don't have quite as much seniority as he does, but we're still the two oldest full-time people on the news.
Yeah, by a mile.
So we do get time, and I try to take a sampling of 5 days each at Christmas and New Year's. Come back for a couple days, take another 5 days, kind of thing. So that worked out just great this year.
That's good. As far as I'm concerned, with me. Going with me, I had a little more time off. Mm-hmm. Since I teach up here, I've had a few more weeks off. But our holiday was pretty good. Celebrated Christmas actually on New Year's Day because that's when all my siblings, all of my kids could get
everyone
off work.
can get back together.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly. So we did that on New Year's Day. But we also went up to Stowe, Ohio, and on the 27th, and celebrated with my other half of the family, as far as my mom's side of the family, and that was really nice.
And for those that don't know, which would be probably everybody, I lived in Stowe. My family lived in Stowe when I went to high school and college. So when Tom Deau says the word Stowe, Ohio, immediately I can picture the town. We can go on and bore everyone to death.
Well, let's start boring someone real quick. When I say Stowe, what comes to your mind first?
It would be a place called Casey's Restaurant, where I worked for years. It was money in the pocket, and it was also the spinal cord of my social life.
Was that the place right there on 91 on Darrow Road?
Yeah, right on Darrow Road, right by what was Leisure Time Golf Course, which was super cool because it was an 18-hole par 3, and we could sneak through the woods from the house. The statute of limitations has run out on this, I'm sure, and we would just take a few clubs with us and jump up onto the course and hit as many as we could before we got too close to the clubhouse.
Good times. Mm-hmm. Good times. For me, when I say Stowe, it's actually two things. One's not in Stowe, but Osmond's Pies.
Uh-huh.
That was one of them, which is in Stowe. And
Yep.
the other one was the Hamburger Station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you ever go to the hamburger station?
No, I didn't. Wow, see what happened? I just like tripped the chair here. So
I got that on camera too.
don't give me the good things to play with. No, I did. I think that might have been gone by the time I left, or that might have not been there by the time I left.
Okay.
Because I left. It's a long, long time ago now.
I think that was in Cuyahoga Falls.
Okay.
Is where it was off of State Road, I believe.
Man, you've got a steel trap there, brother.
Well, I mean, it's when you got the things you like that you love, you got to know where they are.
State Road. You shoot down Graham Road. You shoot down Graham Road till it dead ends at State, and boom,
And go up. So.
all the fun of Cuyahoga Falls,
Good times. Good times.
or as Chrissy Hines said, Cuyahoga Falls.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we're here today. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things as far as I'd say a little bit of television, as far as because we all worked in television, and we'll talk a little bit more about our what we do in addition to television. But Sean, if you could start off by telling people, because we already told people in other episodes.
Let me say one thing before
sorry.
you go to him.
Go ahead.
Because you guys mentioned the town of Stowe. Now, you probably all know that I grew up in the New York metropolitan area, in New Jersey and Manhattan. When you say Stowe, it's a ski town in
You're
Vermont.
thinking Vermont with
Yeah.
the E.
Yeah.
Our Stowe doesn't have an E. They're classy Stowe. I love you, Stowe. I love you, Stowe. Stowe, Vermont had to class the joint up by putting an E on it.
Okay, yeah, it's that's all I think of because everybody from New York goes to New England to ski or watch the leaves turn or have a second home. We never did that. We weren't in that income bracket, but we heard about it a lot. So that's our Stowe, Vermont.
That's good stuff. So actually, we've told our backgrounds as far as our education and stuff like that. But Sean, if you can just fill us in, you kind of told us where you're from. But again, tell us where you're from, where you went to high school, or where you went to college, and how you got to where you are now.
Man, I could bag on, so stop me. But you know what? I said I was at high school in Stowe. Went to Walsh Jesuit High School. At the time, it was all boys, a Catholic high school, Jesuit high school. They've since gone co-ed. Went to Kent State, right in the backyard. So it made perfect sense for me. I didn't have enough money to live on a campus and go out of town. So, but we were able to scrape up enough and working at Casey's and whatnot, pay the tuition at Kent State. Got out of there, in and out in 4. Was working as a cameraman at the late great Channel 23, WAKC. It was WAKR, Whacker Television, and it became Waxy. That's now gone, unfortunately. One of those unfortunate casualties of the business over the years. But in any case, worked there for a little less than a year. Went to work at Ohio's WFUN, WFUN, WREO in Ashtabula, Ohio. And back when REO used to be what we called elevator music. So when you would say the call letters, it would be WREO, FM 97, Ashtabula. But did that for about 11 months, 1 year, and then came to Erie.
Okay, what year was it when you came to Erie? Do you remember?
Yeah. I started working in Erie on April 22nd, 1988. And I started working at JET on December the 4th, 1988.
So what do you like best about working at JET since 1988?
Man, there's so much I like. I mean, first of all, I love the job. I love the job. I mean, I know that we're in a difficult era where trust in news is shaky at best at times. But we really, the thing I love about it is that at the local level, we really are trying to filter out the noise and stay with the local things that mean something here. I mean, of course, we put national stories on, and those are provided by the network and what. But for me, the great part of it is the ability to filter that out and focus on the home front.
Tom, you're kind of the same way. We were talking about this before, as far as with the weather and stuff like that. You always say what you're saying.
Oh, prepare, not scare. Yeah.
Prepare, not scare. And what do you like best about being here in Erie, Pennsylvania?
Well, it's ironic because in September 4th or 9th, September 9th, 1988, I came to Erie. Mm-hmm. So, approximately 6 months after Sean at another broadcast facility.
Yeah, we both worked at the same place. I remember when you and Lisa Zampa both came in the door within a couple weeks of each other.
Right. So he moved over to Jet quite quickly. I hung around for a few years and worked with Lisa Zampa. The reason I came to Erie was because of the noon show. They started this new thing called a noon newscast, and we all remember the day when it was only 6 and 11 and maybe a few little cut-ins in the morning. But then they decided to branch out and make this first noon newscast for Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it was like summer of '88. They were starting to ramp up and prep for that.
The hot summer of '88, and we started a lot of news that summer too.
That summer was an incredible summer to be in Erie. Unfortunately, a lot of it was tragic. I mean, but just a shout out to Lisa, because such a great journalist,
right?
And such a great broadcaster. It was a pleasure to work with her briefly, but she did some great work before she moved on.
Yeah, she anchored the show. So they one day, just like prepare to scare. Prepare to scare. Yeah, that's the business, not my saying. I just said one day, everything from A to Z on this show, and then it became a thing.
Yeah, Atkins to Zampa, everything A to Z.
So yeah,
that's how they promoted it on the air.
Yeah, we promoted it on the air, and and shout out to Lisa too, because she was a great partner to work with. The funny thing was that we were both from New Jersey. She was from Atlantic City, southern New Jersey. I'm up by New York City and northern New Jersey, and people would say, "Did you know each other growing up?"
That's funny. People used to say that when they found out that I was from Ohio. They'd say, "I've got a cousin in Dayton," and then they'd give you a name. And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, we hung out."
Yeah. Funny story, yeah. So what was the question, Tom?
I forget. Was it why you? Did I ask you why? I should switch here. Did I ask you why have you guys stayed? Why have you stayed in Erie so long? As far as obviously, you guys are like staples to the whole community. I mean, you're well known by a lot of people for what you do, because you do such a good job at what you're doing.
Just keep it coming, Tom. Keep it coming, man.
Sean, some of the stories that you've covered, I can still remember. I can't name them now, but why have you guys stayed here? What did you find that kept you here?
Want to go first, Tom?
Yeah, I'll start, Tom.
Okay. Well, I came here because of the weather, because I grew up out east. I went to college in the Midwest, and growing up east, I loved snow as a kid. All right. And I don't know if we talked about this earlier, but when I was 6 years old, I found out that we didn't get much. It was a unique thing, in northern New Jersey and New York City. So I found out that if it snowed hard enough, you could get a day off from school. And I love snow.
Oh, that's cool.
So I set out at 6 years old. My parents, both teachers, look at this interest I had. So, when you have parent teachers or teacher parents, they give you two things for birthday and Christmas: clothes and educational gifts. Okay. So I got a weather station on my 6th birthday. Okay. So they noticed I would sit down and watch the news with my dad, and I was like, that guy, that's a cool job he has. So I remember back in the day when we had a thing called show and tell in elementary school, I brought my weather station. I mean, it was real. It was functioning. And we went out to, the macadam, as they call it, the bike racks on the blacktop, and I'm holding up that anemometer with the cups going on. And ever since then, I was hooked. So working in those two places, Iowa was cold with some snow. New York was warmer with some snow. But it's ironic that a man I met in New Jersey from my hometown that helped set me up in high school with a place to work with meteorologists, because he was the salesperson, got into business with a weather vendor company out of Massachusetts called WSI, and we just kept in contact. And when I was in Iowa, he said, there's this station in Erie, Pennsylvania that's starting a new newscast. You should check it out. And Erie, Pennsylvania, lake effect snow. Hey.
Yeah.
So the weather brought me, and I think just the fact that it was just fun, and I worked around good people, all the time. So I had no problem hanging out here because, growing up in the metropolitan area, it's expensive, it's a rat race, and it has all these advantages, pro sports and all this other wonderful culture, but this is a nice place. It's a conservative family oriented with low rent, and people are generally friendly, except when you blow a forecast. But so, yeah, these kind of things happened. And as I got older, I thought, well, I always wanted to go back there. And I thought, why do I want to go back there? First of all, it would be tough to break in and go to the big city. And second of all, it's kind of nice here,
Yeah. Well, that's the bottom line. And the story, although, in weather, it's funny because the very first, my parents would tell the story often. The very first person that attracted my attention that they could remember on TV was a weather guy named Jerry Fiore from upstate New York.
He was in Rochester.
Yeah, he was in Rochester for a long time.
I worked with him.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
Okay, cool. So there you go. 6 degrees of separation here.
Yeah.
But Jerry Fiore, 6 degrees. Kevin Bacon, move over. But he was in Utica at the time. I was born in Utica. And they said when he came on, their hyper little brat that was tearing up the house, me, would sit down in front of that TV and just stare at him. Because there was something about his voice and what he was doing that got my attention. But, we lived in Erie when I was a kid.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we moved here. I was born in upstate New York. We bopped around to a few places. One of them was Toronto. And we moved to Erie from Toronto in '75. And we lived here for almost the entire rest of the '70s, out in Mill Creek, out by the airport. Loved it. Entire family hated to leave when my dad got a job in Akron. Poor Akron stood no chance in our eyes, compared to Erie, because it was so much. It was so cool. We had a neighborhood school, and just it was a great place. They had the beaches. It wasn't far. You ride your bike there. So when I got a chance to come back to Erie, actually when I was in college, I applied to a station in Erie, which shall remain nameless, and the news director at the time said that I should work on my radio skills. And in this business, we know what that means. And I'm not saying he was wrong, but I'm saying that was a little bit of fuel to keep things going.
It's one of those things. It's like, I'm going to show you, and just keep doing your thing and excel at it, which you have, which is excellent. Is there any here in Erie? What's the biggest story that you can remember that you covered? We'll start with Sean, that you've covered that was maybe, let's go the biggest story that you've covered here in Erie. What would that have been?
I think there's the pizza bomber case, and then I think there's everything after it. Unfortunately, at this point, the most overtold story in Erie history, probably, but for good reason. You talk about a story that has all the tragic ingredients of keeping the national attention and international attention, and that one's it.
Mm-hmm. That was a huge story, and still today. I mean, they've made how many documentaries have they made?
Oh boy, I don't know. They've made the one that got a lot of attention, Evil Genius, and then I'm sure there have been several shall we say, less highly publicized documentaries, but the story's been told over and over and over again. And, people have, even in Evil Genius, they try to draw some conclusions. And, you be the judge, whether you agree with it or not.
Absolutely. Tom, what about you?
Just the, you can't really whittle them down, but the thing that stands out in my mind was back, just a few years ago. It was Palm Sunday of 2019. There was severe weather. I was called in and I was watching, and then I was on the air, and I was probably on the air for 2 or 3 hours.
Now, let me interrupt you, because for those that don't know Tom, him being called in is unusual because he's always there anyways. The guy loves what he's doing. He's not only great at it, he loves what he does, and he's there all the time. So, excuse me, but
I probably used the word, the terminology a little incorrectly there, Sean, and I probably called myself in. But no, it was Palm Sunday. There were severe storms. They were producing hail that was damaging stuff. I don't even know if there were any tornadoes, but I do remember there was a lot of wind. And I'm standing there live on the air, and we had a weather station on top of the roof at that time, and the 2 other guys were in the weather office. And back then, we had a garage door in our weather office.
Yeah.
Because, back when the late, great Myron Jones and John Kansas put us on the air, they would actually drive cars into the studio and do
live commercials.
Commercials, yeah. So we didn't have a door. We didn't have a window. So you would open the garage door to see what the weather was doing. And it was so interesting because we're all weather geeks. And the wind was picking up, and I'm on the air. And as I'm talking and telling people about these severe storms, the wind gets louder and louder. You hear about, people that experience tornadoes, the freight train sound. Mm-hmm. Well, you don't need a tornado to hear that sound. You just need a lot of wind, okay? And it was, almost to the point where I thought the building was shaking. And I hear one of the guys go, "Shut the door!" And it got so loud that I thought one of the walls was going to fall on me while I'm trying to tell people to stay calm and, go to their basements or whatever. And then when I got a chance, I talked to them, and we had received an 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts at that moment, which is bigger than hurricane strength. And I was just happy the building held.
Well, I think it's important to understand, too, that right outside Tom's door, right outside the studio, is our transmission tower. It's 803 feet tall. It towers over the building, obviously. And when the wind whistles through that tower, through the guy wires and through the tower, all that wind noise is really amplified. I mean, if you haven't heard it, it's something when you're standing in the parking lot and you hear a strong wind whipping through that tower. So just imagine what an 80-mile-an-hour wind was like without that, and then add the amplification of that tower. And it's something. It probably was a little freaky. I was not there.
Yeah, because you think that tower is going to fall on our head.
How long did that gust or such? How long did
it was
last?
brief. It wasn't more than 10 seconds or something, but it was big enough that it was to remember it. As a highlight. One other thing I guess I could say was back in 1993 when you had the storm of the century, which really didn't affect Erie as much as it did the East Coast. I mean, tremendous snow from the Gulf of Mexico to Maine. We still got a foot of snow or something out of it, which is unusual because it's a nor'easter, not a lake effect.
Right, and it was March 13th.
Yeah, and it was starting to spring.
Yeah, you're starting to think like maybe we're coming out of it.
Right, and I remember they put me outside, and I was just sitting on a snowbank that had been plowed up on Peach Street, talking about this storm, which really wasn't a big deal for us, but it was kind of a cool moment to sit outside, especially in the early '90s when live technology was just becoming,
My story about that: Eric Johnson, who was our news director-ish
newsroom leader
at the time. amazing newsman.
Yes.
I mean, we could go
Absolutely.
on and on and
Absolutely.
on about EJ. But EJ and I ended up on Oprah. But just a clip. It was just a clip. We weren't on. EJ was going live from the old Perry Highway Hose Company. I was in the studio. And what had happened was a couple had a wedding reception going at the Perry Highway Hose Company, and it had been determined that that would be a Red Cross shelter.
Oh, my goodness.
So people coming off I-90 were basically crashing the party.
Wow.
And the couple, made the absolute best of it. They were welcoming everyone into the party, and they ended up with this unforgettable wedding day story. And that was the topic of an Oprah episode. And they put that clip of Eric and I broadcasting, and I can forever say I was on Oprah Winfrey. Because of that, because of the storm of the quote century.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Going back to something that you said as far as Tom, you said as far as leaving on Palm Sunday. Okay, sometimes that could be a big thing at people's houses, or just leaving on a Sunday. For everybody in here, including myself, your significant other, your wives, do they ever have a problem with you with what you do, or are they pretty understanding about that whole thing?
I'm first.
I tell the news director straight.
Oh, yeah, well,
Your tenure as news director.
Extraordinarily understanding. I mean, you have to understand, and everybody should know that this is not it. There are some professions. I mean, we're not police officers. We're not soldiers going off to war. We're not firefighters. But it's a job that does kind of dictate what your family can and can't do on a lot of occasions. And my wife has been extremely understanding over the years. I'm sure Tom can tell the same story. We've both been married for a long time. And I can only guess that it has not been as easy as she has made it look over the years. When you just have to drop everything, or you're working on Thanksgiving, or you're working on Christmas, or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other side of that is really funny because if the weather got bad, my wife would say, "Get in there."
She encourages you.
Yeah, and she goes, "You need to get on the air and do your thing."
Well, and that's what Tom's doing is, at those moments of I'll call it crisis. At those moments of crisis, that's important. That could be life-saving information. Not hyperbole. I mean, that could be life-saving information. So, I mean, that's a whole different level of import when you're talking about severe weather breaking.
And like Sean was saying, it's not a clock-punching job.
No.
It's not a banker's hours job, and people forget that. I mean, as we go through time, and as we see people coming up, not to disparage the young crowd.
Not to go all, hey, boomer.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
boomer.
But, there was never any kind of, reservation about doing your job when you had to do your job. If it carried you past your hours, that's what you do, because you're kind of given a mandate by the FCC to serve the public. And, in weather, it's sometimes, like Sean was saying, life and property. So it's just like, this is what we do. I don't care what time of day it is. No. Weather doesn't sleep. News doesn't sleep. Let's get it.
Some of the most exciting things that I've covered happened after the 11 o'clock news while you're there, and you just go. And they've turned out to be, really very interesting stories. There's a train derailment in the middle of the night that, you just go. Other things, it's, unfortunately, it's very rarely anything good. that's drawing your attention at midnight or 1 in the morning. But I mean, some of the more interesting stories have come because you didn't punch the clock and you stayed on for another 3, 4, 5, 6 hours.
I think that also goes to the people who do the news and the weather. It's not for everybody.
No.
I know there's some people that they're like, what do you mean I've got to stay late? I've had some of my former students say stuff like that, but I've told them in class that it's not a 9 to 5 deal. And you've got to be willing to stay there late or sometimes come in early, work holidays, whatever. But sometimes, I think in addition to our wives, of course, being special, you yourself have to be a special person to do this.
There has to be a passion for it. There's no doubt about it. It's, it's by now it's hardwired in us, but there had to be a passion to start. And when you say it's not for everybody, that is not a cut or a knock on the people that it's not for.
Correct.
Because, then they move on to something that I can't do. They're going to move on to something, that they like, that they have a passion for, and that's fine.
Right.
And you know what? I always say if you come into it and a year or two into it, you're just not digging it, move on. Find what you are interested in. You get one life. Go find what you're interested in. Tom and I are lucky that we're doing what it is.
We came up when we did,
for.
actually, looking at the industry and the way things are today, fighting for survival in television. I asked my class when I start, how many of you guys watch local news? It's like 10%, So we're like, how much longer can we survive?
Getting news off, and that getting news off TikTok and getting news off of the 88 million platforms that are out there right now. And then, some of them are good and some of them are not good. But
how have you guys seen the news business change, and has it been for the better, for the worse? And what do you guys think of it?
Oh boy, there's a loaded question. Let me filter that through the don't get in trouble filter. It's changed in that we have to be. Our attention span has to go in a lot more directions now, because before, Tom talked about you punched in for we just said it's not a punch-in job, but you know what I mean. You had the 6 and the 11, and you focused on the half an hour at 6, and you focused on the half an hour at 11. And then it became, now we're focused on the noon, then we're focused on the 5, then the 5:30, then the 2 hours in the morning. So you grew the TV product. Then the TV product, in the last, especially 10 years, was not enough because, as newspapers and radio saw, we've seen our audience go off into different directions. And I do think that one of the things that is good is that we're finally starting to meet the audience where they are instead of demanding that they come to us. We finally realized that the demanding that they make appointments to watch us is not the recipe for future success.
Yeah, being available on different platforms, as they say, at different times.
Right.
And I think COVID played into that as well, because I remember when that became the national story and everybody wanted, they started doing this thing called Facebook Live, and Sean would come into the studio at 7:15, and he would go on Facebook to give updates to that audience, on this, major story thing that was happening to the country. So yeah, meeting, and we do it in weather too. I do it every night. I do a Facebook Live show, and when there's severe weather, it's especially important because not everyone gets our signal. There's, everybody's going to streaming now. Some people get their power knocked out, so they have their phone and they want to know about the weather, things like that. So like Sean said, you meet people at different times on different venues to keep an audience.
Well, and I think legacy media has traditionally, at least in my opinion, been very slow to give up their turf and adapt. And they've paid the price for it. And I think that television is now really, really embracing the idea that we need to meet the audience where they are.
Where are they? Who makes that decision? How do you know what you're doing is right? What do you think of that?
Wow. Well, I how do you know what you're doing is right? Well, there are the metrics. There's the number of people that you can see at any given moment who are on your website. You can track who's following, how many people are following which platform. You can track which story did really well. It's a lot easier. There's a lot more information right now about what it is that's connecting with the audience than there used to be. Before you had ratings in February, May, July, and November. It was the only time you found out whether what you were doing was hitting with the audience. Bigger markets had overnights, but we never did. We always counted on the book. Now you can see that stuff right in front of your face. It is live feedback over whether or not you're connecting or not. And I'm not going to lie. It's been, it's made the job a little easier on the TV side to be able to watch what connects on the other platforms and say, okay, well, that's what the audience is interested in.
Do you always agree that that's right? Like, some of the stuff?
No,
I mean,
nothing's right all the time.
I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I'm just asking. If I want to talk about the old me going back to the 1990s, things were just different back then when we first started. But even though I'm still in news on a part-time basis with you guys, working in the 4 different news markets that I've worked in, I've seen different things at the different markets.
Tom went to the big city.
Sorry.
Big cities.
Yeah, he did, Rochester. And although the one thing about it, I don't mean to, sorry about that. The one thing that you talked about what kept us in Erie. The one thing that kept my attention, one of the things, was that Erie was was performing at a bigger level than its market size. I'd see other local newscasts in larger markets, more populous areas, and it was easy to see that what we were doing was on par with what they were doing.
Well, didn't they also always say that we are hampered here because of the lake? There's nobody that way. I mean,
half the audience is fish.
Yeah, you got Buffalo up the one way, you got Pittsburgh the other way, and Cleveland in the middle. We're in the middle of it, but there's nothing above us to.
Well, and for those that don't know, the ratings people, Nielsen, always used the state line, even as a magic border, like our signal stops at the state line. Yeah. So we get no credit for anything, 30 or 25 miles in either direction, east or west of our station.
And that also translates into weather. Weather doesn't stop at political boundaries. And, that's what, you got to realize that people all over the place, if they can get a hold of you, it doesn't matter if you're in their quote unquote audience, for just to use a real layman's term. And I always felt that way because people, when we got more sectioned up, and when we went to digital, Chautauqua County became Buffalo's market, and Ashtabula County became Cleveland's. But people thought because they were closer to Erie in Chautauqua and Ashtabula, they got used to us because we would pay more attention to them than the big cities that were further away.
Correct.
So, they're putting up antennas. They're doing modern day things to still go to YouTube.
It's funny we said modern day when we said putting up antennas.
Yeah, I was thinking of YouTube, but yeah. Some of them do that, and I have people that give me weather information from Venango, from Chautauqua, from McKean counties that are not part of the Erie market, but they found a way to get our signal because we paid more attention to them. And I don't consider them any less value or anything else. Hey, you want to watch me? I'm flattered. I don't care if you're part of the ratings, that we've been forced into.
Well, and I think the other, when you talked about the other platforms, that's a good thing. It's if there's different ways to get information out, that's a good thing, isn't it? I mean, if we're not, the audience isn't hampered by having to sit down at a certain particular time and watch, the news. I think that's the transfer of reliable information on multiple platforms on demand is a good thing.
I agree with that. I mean, if it's reliable stuff,
Reliable stuff,
that's
yes.
the key word right there, is reliable.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that we could go on and on and on and on and on and on about which places maybe fall a little short, but you decide. The whole
Right.
rule number one in this business has been let the audience make their own mind up, and it still is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody out there might be saying BS, but it's always going to be my first commandment is, let the audience decide.
Right.
Just put the information out there and let them decide.
You want to, and I'll give you a real life example that happened in the last 24 hours. Is people. There was a couple that lives in Warren County, and the man started sending me pictures, and I love weather pictures. I like to put them in the show. He's a very photographer. These people are, seniors, and he said, "I'd like to give my wife a birthday present of watching one of your newscasts." So this couple drove in a cold rain for an hour last night to come watch the 6 o'clock news. And you learn a lot from people that have been around longer than you have. And one of the things that was cool was I said, let's get a picture of, Sean and me with these people. And I put it out on Facebook, and the people just went nuts. They were sharing it, and our former news director, Lou Baxter, he chimed in, and he said the same thing that Sean was saying. These people, we are privileged to be in these people's homes every day, and we want to treat them with, that kind of respect and, thankfulness, gratitude. And the people are like, that is so cool that you let somebody, come in there and watch a newscast and stuff like that. So, talk about meeting people where they're at and recognizing that they're the ones that made you. Without them, you're nothing. You're not there. And so it was just a really cool example using multiple platforms of the basic thing that he was just talking about. We serve the public.
Yeah, and I think just to add, 30 seconds, so cut me off at 30. But to add to what Tom said, I mean, there is, and I don't want people to think this is not fake at all when I say the gratitude that we feel for the position that we hope we do our jobs well, the gratitude that we feel knowing that people apparently agree that we've done an okay job is immense.
Mm-hmm.
We never for a second take that lightly.
Right, because there's so much of the other side. I mean, you got to have a thick skin, and everybody's a critic.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to hear about it, especially in the weather.
I was going to
below a forecast.
Although we're catching up to you in news.
Yeah.
But, that's the thing is you do, and you tell people, if you, especially like the younger ones, I always tell them, do not be fixated on social media if you don't have a thick skin.
Mm-hmm.
Because keyboard warriors are not afraid to take shots,
right,
figuratively. And if you don't have a thick skin, I mean, we all chose to do our job in front of the public. And, I've always said, if we're number one and a third of the TV audience is watching me or watching us, that means 2/3 of the audience is not watching us. So, if you're getting a little big for your britches, just think about that on occasion.
I got a question for you here. What kept you in the business that you are, besides not having a job, whatever?
Paying the bills.
Yeah. Why do you stay in this? What keeps you going every day? What keeps you starting up the car and driving into work? What is it that keeps you going?
You never know what's next. That is it in a nutshell.
That's what I loved about the job. It was different every day. And then even when you've got days planned, okay, you're going to cover this, that, and whatever, something else will happen. I remember when 9/11 happened. I wasn't working at the time. I was in Andover, Ohio. I was working at WEWS, Andover, building a house. And I got a page, get in here. So that we all came in there. You're always doing something. I think that we worked like 23 hours that day or something.
It was crazy.
But it's one of those things. That's one of the things that I love the best about the news and that I miss is the different things all the time and how quickly things change.
Mm-hmm. And there is a bit of an adrenaline, right? And you have to, there's an adrenaline rush to some of that because you do not know what you're going into sometimes. And there was a story years ago, and a brand new photographer was with me, and I looked at him. I said, "You nervous?" Because he was real quiet, and he said, "Yeah, a little." And I said, "Good. You'll be more focused on what you're doing. Little bit of nervous is okay."
Oh yeah. And whether it's it's even more. It's an exponential thing about it. It's different every day. I mean, here, which is one of the reasons I'm here, is because I could never, work in a place like Arizona or San Diego, get 300 days of sunshine out of the year. I'd be bored out of my mind. So this lake humbles me every week in one form or another. It's not just snow. And so there is a challenge every day because you're never going to get it totally right. And even with stuff like AI and whatever's new on the computer, no way. You're never going to get it totally right. It always takes a human element, and it's always changing, and it's a challenge. So, yeah, I love that about this, too.
All right, we're looking at the time. We're going to have to start wrapping things up. But what I would like to do is ask, what is your favorite thing about what you're doing now?
I thought you were going to go like scrambled or fried, boxers briefs, that kind of thing.
No.
Thank you for not doing that.
Thanks for not.
We're past that. What is the best thing about what you're doing? And you can get as deep as you want. You could do whatever you want to do, or say whatever you want to say. But what is it that keeps you doing what you're doing? I know, like for me right now, as far as teaching, I mean, I love television. And I still love it. I like working with you, Tom, when we go out and do those things during the summer. And then, Sean, I'm still waiting to get out there and do some great stuff with you.
We've had a couple of opportunities, and schedules didn't link up, and
well, I couldn't go out on a boat.
You didn't want to go. I was going to let you say the boat thing, but okay. But we'll definitely. I'm looking forward to it. But for people that haven't seen Tom Deau's work. If you take a look at it, you'll know why I'm excited at the prospect of working with Tom again.
Absolutely, and we'll go out on a boat too.
Tom's not. If you go out on a boat with him, I'm going to be bummed.
You guys go out on the boat. I'll stay.
Okay.
I'll stay near the boat on the shore because I get sick. But that's why. I mean, as far as what I'm doing now, I love the teaching aspect because I love that aha moment where all of a sudden they get it, and then they start producing some videos, some radio shows that they're doing. Whatever they're doing, they start producing great stuff. And then you see the excitement in them. That's what keeps me going. But what keeps you going with what you guys are doing? I'll let either one of you go first. Oh, we're getting the signal that, Sean, you have to go first.
Okay, I think there's part of that. At this age, obviously when I was 22, it wasn't this, but many years later, just turned 60. I like those aha moments. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I like those aha moments in the younger people. Yeah. And over the years, you could see them. And I'm not going to lie, there are people that you didn't think we're going to make it. Whether they're photographers or reporters or whatnot, you're looking at them saying, okay, we're 3 or 4 months into this, and where is the aha? Where is the light bulb? And then boom, you can almost see it in real time. You can watch this person become a journalist.
Absolutely.
At almost that moment that it happened. And that is really cool to watch the light bulb go on. I mean, we all came in as blank slates to a certain degree. And everyone has their own time schedule. But when you see that moment, that is so cool. But also, the idea that when you're done with a newscast that went really well and you put out good, usable information, there's still a rush to that. 40 years later, there's still a rush to that. And that's what gets me in the car going back to work.
There's been days where I've actually left here, and I feel like Bender from the Breakfast Club.
Oh, yeah.
When he's walking out at the end and he puts his hand
Hands
up
up in the air.
hands up in the air. And I leave here sometimes thinking, man, it all came together and it was just a great day. So I think that's kind of like what you're saying with the newscast.
Yeah. I thought you were going to ask me if Barry Manilow knows I raid his wardrobe.
Well, I got a Barry Manilow story, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, we all have a few Barry Manilow stories. Yeah.
But Tom, what about you?
It's getting a forecast right and helping people, especially if the weather's bad, or going to the schools too. That's cool. When you get to go to schools and you see kids that are really tuned in and almost have the bug that I had at a younger age, and you can make a difference. You can help them along, or they call you back, or they write you back, or whatever. Or a senior person. Like I said before, you learn a lot of things from people that have been around, longer than you have. And just like this couple at the station,
that group's getting smaller for us.
Yeah, we're getting into that group more and more. But yeah, I love going to these seniors places because I love history. I love American history, and I love weather history. And the more things change, the more they stay the same. And if you don't learn from the past, you're doomed to all that stuff. That's true.
I'm a history nerd as well.
Yeah,
you
Sean's
know that.
The same way. And we'll come out in the studio and I'll say, Sean, on this date in 1944, what happened? And he'll tell me.
He's still my favorite weather thing in Erie, Penn. I believe it's November 12th. Is it the 12th?
1918.
1918.
Yeah.
When I'm like, and every year this sounds really weird, but I hope that we don't set a record high or record low, because on the very same day, it's like November 12th, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's it. We had of the very same year, Erie's record high for that day and record low happened on the exact same day, and I think that's the coolest thing, and I know that sounds like as geeky as it can possibly sound, but I just think of the odds of that happening and the odds of it staying a record after more than a century, and it kind of blows me away.
Yeah, and if I put that out, and I have on the platforms, people go like, wow. Because it was a 56-degree temperature.
Yeah, it was like 71 and 18 or something like that. Yeah.
And they still stand to today. And the other thing that I love to look back at historical weather locally is this hottest day Erie ever experienced in 1936 in the Dust Bowl, when for 7 days in a row, Erie set record temperatures.
Oh, yeah, aren't 4 of them still records?
And 4 out of the 7 still stand. Jeez. And I did some research in the papers and stuff, and these people, imagine 1930s, there's no air conditioning except like in a movie theater, and that's where people went, okay? Or, they either slept in their basement, camped out in their yards, or drove down to the dock to be closer to the water. Right. And slept in their cars.
Air conditioning was still a block of ice in front of a fan.
They set records for people going 5,000 people at Presque Isle because they wanted to get away from the city heat. That stuff happened here. It's cool, and you learn from it.
That's good stuff. I also like it when you guys come back from the weather, or just when you come back from weather and you guys are talking about different things like this. It's very interesting, and that just goes to show you the longevity of what you guys have, and just how professional you guys are, and the knowledge you guys have, and it's great.
And I listen to Tom.
It's great to see
Tom's
you.
smart, so I listen to Tom.
Well, he's the master. He's like having Walter Cronkite, you know, working with that, for those of you who know who Walter Cronkite is. But
That's the way it was.
Yep.
Well,
Speaking of that's the way it is.
I think this was a pretty good podcast today. It was fun having you in today, Sean. It was a lot of fun. And Tom, it's always a pleasure.
This is a good
having
show.
you in there too.
Thank you, boys.
Sean, one last thing, because this is a long music bed here.
You're playing me out.
What's the last thing you want to say before you get off air?
The last thing I want to say?
You mean for his lifetime or just
My
now?
life? Yeah, wow.
Well, I guess it was a loaded question.
Wow.
Well, this podcast.
You know?
What did you come to say today that you were hoping you were going to say, but I didn't ask?
Go Sabres.
Sabres, okay. Very fresh.
I'm just no. I mean, I think I hope I don't know who's watching this, but you know what? I wish for everybody what you and Tom and I have, and that is that you're doing something you love every single day. That's what I wish for everyone.
All right, we'll end on that. So it was great having you here today, Sean.
I should have come up with something better. I can tell that did not. That if that was the hammer up the thing up to the bell at the carnival, I did not ring the bell for Tom Deau there.
No, please. Well, here you go. In saying that, then I guess that's going to mean you're going to have to come back and do another show.
Bring him back.
So that way,
Gladly.
that gives us an out. to bring
Gladly.
you back.
Gladly.
So, all right, everybody. We're going to call that a day for today. This is episode 4 of Tom Squared. I'm Tom Deau.
I'm Tom Atkins.
I'm Sean Lafferty.
And we'll catch you next time. Thank you.
I'm not Tom.